Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community, we would go racing with A Class front-wheel drive cars. Now, A Class is really about the limit you want for a front-wheel drive vehicle. You're tending to get quite a lot of power going to the front wheels of these cars. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of bumping through at the first corner and someone getting sort of slightly clipped on the inside tyre bundle. The tyre bundles are not safe, I've got to say. They're bouncing cars back out into traffic. A Dodge got clipped on that, and that caused all sorts of chaos further back. Yeah, they're a little bit of an awkward thing to have to deal with. Yeah, not the greatest of starts. Most vehicles, though, managing to make it through relatively unharmed. This Focus having a look at the inside of a Scirocco, not quite able to make anything stick there. One car that was keen to make his way up through the order, this turquoise Scirocco, a lovely cutback on the Scion to make up a position, dives to the inside of a Civic on the final corner, does almost get the move completed. However, it is it's not the longest straight at Laguna Seca here, but it is long enough for the Civic to come flying back past. The Scion, having some good straight line speed, also has a look but can't quite do anything. The Civic, while it did get back ahead briefly, does not have the cornering grip of that Scirocco, and the Civic very nearly getting stuck out wide and losing another position to the TC. Does just about get back in cross. Now the Scirocco is chasing down another one of the Volkswagens. I too was driving a Scirocco. This one you might remember from the autocross car builds. This is the fastest front-wheel drive car that ever went around the course, so I figured it would make for a decent enough vehicle for this kind of racing. And it was proving to be relatively okay. I was having a fight with a Clio as we came down towards the first corner. I was struggling for straight line speed in my Scirocco, but it was very quick through the corners. I'm stuck on the outside of this opening section. However, I've got the grip in the Scirocco to keep my car all the way around the outside, and that will then put me on the inside for the next turn, and the Clio just can't quite make a move stick. He does, though, go for a cutback using that acceleration on my vehicle. Once more, though, I am forced to go the long way around another corner, and it would finally be enough. The Clio would have to take such a tight line, just couldn't maintain the corner speed that my Volkswagen could. There were plenty of Sciroccos around. They're probably one of the most popular choices of cars, and they were doing pretty damn well. This was the fight for the lead. Lancia Fulvia was holding on to it for now with its incredible acceleration, of course. Fulvia very light in this field, probably the lightest car by quite a margin in this race. Great acceleration, but it was struggling a little bit through the corners, and the Sciroccos were very fast, and a bit of a mistake from the Lancia, just misses the apex, runs out very wide. Again, is just a little bit wide of the apex. The Scirocco sort of forces the points a little bit to get his car to the inside. Now the Lancia will have the acceleration down this next short straight, and the Lancia does keep himself on the inside, but just can't match the Volkswagen in terms of corner speed, and in the end the Fulvia would have to yield to the Volkswagen. Now the Focus had been running as high up as third, however, it would quickly start to struggle. One of the other downsides of high-powered front-wheel drive cars is tyre wear, and the Focus was chewing through its tyres here at Laguna. Started coming under fire from all sorts of vehicles, the turquoise Scirocco being the first vehicle to make the most of it. A fantastic overtake. That's a very tricky corner, and there's only a few millimetres to spare there for the Scirocco to get past, and yeah, the Focus would be in real trouble in the later stages of the race. I was finding myself fighting with a Scion as we both caught up to the Ford. I looked to the outside, trying to go around the outside of the pair of them. I know my car is pretty good handling, not quite that good, a little bit too ambitious for the Scirocco quite there. The Scion is trying to get to the inside now, the pair of us. In the end, we all sort of calm down as we get to the top of the hill. Yeah, 3 cars into that corner. That does not work particularly well. The Scion deciding it's a better idea to let me go. The Focus struggling, caught out quite a few of us actually with the braking into the caution. I'll give him a little bit of the bump. I just braked so much later than the Ford could. The Scion did end up running a little bit wide as I cut a path up the inside, although then promptly end up a little too wide on the exit. The Focus is trying to fight back through these next couple of corners, but I've definitely got the measure of him and can defend with a relative ease. At the front, and disaster would strike for the Porsche Scirocco, as we can see the lagged out ghost car on the replay, who would disconnect with about a lap and 2 corners to go. So the lead was a little bit gifted to the orange Fulvia. He had been doing a decent enough job hanging on in second place, but yeah, the Fulvia would inherit the lead. The turquoise Scirocco was catching towards the end of the race, but would run out of laps to do anything about trying to find a way past. Hyundai Veloster would come in third, with another Scirocco down in fourth, as the Drivatars celebrate with a little bit of driving across the dirt. To be fair, that's better than they normally do at that corner, so well done, Drivatars. Race number 2, and we have an Aztec on the screen. Yes, some Aztecs turned up for this one. We would go to the Catalonia National Circuit, a track that I very much like. I was expecting my Scirocco to be pretty decent around this circuit. There is one long straight, but there's a couple of really technical sections, and yeah, I was hoping that that the Volkswagen would like this track. There was again a couple of bits of bumping into the first corner. Often can be the case, especially with front-wheel drive cars more prone to wheel spin. You can often just get a smokescreen effect. It's very, very difficult to see into that opening corner. Most vehicles, though, managing to make it through relatively well. You can see a lot of people struggling with understeer on cold tyres with these cars. You get snappy oversteer on some sort of corners, or you just a general lack of grip early on. Mini, though, making the most of the opportunities, comes soaring through the pack, has got past me as well as I run way too deep into the hairpin for the first time. There's an Aztec having a 3-way battle with cars behind. It was a rather frantic opening to the race. In fact, all of these races were rather balmy in terms of excitement off the start. This Focus keen to try and find a way past a Pontiac Aztec, and well, I can certainly understand that one. He gets to the inside on the final corner. Looks like it's a simple move done. However, the Aztec is faster in a straight line. The Aztec are crazily fast. The Focus is not slow down these straights here. The Aztec, though, would outdrive it as we come towards turn 1. However, Pontiac not quite able to outturn it, really struggling with the grip there. Repays the little bump on the Ford, but yeah, it's just not able to maintain the corner speed. Hyundai is going to get involved, sweep around the outside of the Pontiac, no problem, and gets himself on the inside of the Focus as they run up the hill. This is a scary place, going too wide in rather understeery, powerful front-wheel drive cars, but the Hyundai makes the move stick. The Focus tries to fight him, but in the end just can't do that much about the very fast Veloster. I was up into 4th place around here, and it was the battle for the orange supremacy between me and the Lancia Fulvia as we fly through this back chicane. I had the handling, the Lancia had the acceleration as we dive into the hairpin. I had to go from a fair way back, get my car stopped, but it's a fantastic cutback from the Lancia to regain that position, and that was my best sort of overtaking spot in many ways. These next sort of couple of corners I was very fast at with the Scirocco. The problem was it's very difficult to overtake, and the Fulvia was parking his car on the apexes, and I just had nowhere to go as we head into the second part. I wanted to try and sort of cut back to the inside and dive up the inside for the final corner, so the Lancia parked his car right on the apex, and the problem is now I have got myself alongside around the final turn, then the Lancia's speed starts to kick in, but this was the closest I had been for a number of laps, and the Lancia wasn't able to pull away as far as we run down towards the first corner. I'm close enough to have a bit of a sniff up the inside. The Lancia will give me space, although it's not necessarily a bad thing to be around the outside of turn 1, because you will be on the inside for this next corner, and I can't quite... Again, you know, you can make overtakes from different sides around here. I'm just sort of swapping sides, seeing where I can make work. I get to the outside at one of the faster corners on the track, and the Lancia realises he just can't carry the speed that the Scirocco can. Although in me going around the outside, I put myself in all sorts of wonky position through that chicane. Have to get across to defend the inside. The Lancia does get past me briefly, but then he can't stop it into the hairpin, and the Fulvia would end up out very wide, and that would put the Scirocco up a position. At the front, and there would be some redemption for the white and blue Scirocco, who would go on to take victory. A little bit of a quieter race at the front, actually spread out at the front quite quickly here, although not helped by a small trip across the grass on the final lap. Yeah, the Scirocco would go on to claim a victory. It would be a Dodge SRT4 in second place, actually surprisingly fast. That car to hold on to second, with me back in third, the Fulvia finishing in fourth. The best of the last lap scraps would go between a Veloster and a Mini as we join it sort of halfway around the final lap. Veloster is to the outside at the top of the hill. The Mini not quite as keen to give the Veloster as much room as the Fulvia gave me, but that's kind of what happens when it gets down to the very final lap. The Veloster, though, is still looking for that way past and will get to the inside at the hairpin, will return the favour to the Mini as it just struggles a little bit to get the car turned as they run out of the hairpin. The Veloster could out-accelerate that Mini into the next corner, but again we get that little bit of understeer creeping in. There's just a Mini-sized gap on the inside, which the Cooper is going to go for it again. The Mini dives to the inside as we come into this very, very narrow, twisty section. Mini outside of the first part. If you can make it stick on the inside for the second part, you might be able to compromise the car on the outside. The Mini, though, couldn't. He couldn't fire his car, couldn't carry the speed up the inside well enough to force the Hyundai to be compromised on the exit. So the Veloster would get the position. A good final lap exchange between those two. Our final race, we would head to the Silverstone National Circuit, a track that I did not expect my Scirocco to fare particularly well on. This is 3 long straights with a little bit of corners in between, and there was a lot of cold tyres, snappy oversteering moment. I was one of them that got caught out. I think I got a little bit of a bump from an Astra, but I was very sideways. You couldn't really see with the amount of cars around me on that replay camera, but there was a very sideways Volkswagen in all of that, and quite a few cars would, as you can imagine, really, with these vehicles through that opening corner. We did, though, on the most part, get away with it in one piece. I had actually made a couple of positions, although I knew I was going to come under threat once we'd all spread out. And these straights, they're not the longest straights on any race circuit. However, they are enough to cause issues for my car. Thankfully, at this moment in time, the vehicles behind were too busy fighting each other to really worry about me, and I actually carry so much speed around this final corner, trying to get myself to the inside of a Focus. Because, of course, at that turn, I was better than a lot of the cars that were around me, because I had the grip, but the rest of them didn't. As we now all fly our way down towards the first corner, I'm back under threat, having to try and defend from the Focus, and from Scirocco. The Veloster was in there as well. Also got to be very, very wary of the curb on the outside of turn 1. Really easy to hit that curb and have a car suddenly twitch sideways on you. Further back, it was equally frantic. I think this race might be one of a lot of these races today were very, very frantic starts, but this one in particular, there were so many cars having humongous tussles for position. We're talking 2 and 3 wide through large parts of the lap as we head into turn 1. This Clio is trying to and does make a move on an Astra. Somebody's gone for a bit of an explore on the outside. The Astra, though, of course, with incredible straight line speed, will get 3 cars on the run up towards the next corner. God knows what engine that thing had in it, but it was a lot of power. Then horrible through the corners. The Fulvia fighting back. The Megane is having a look. A Mini has come to join in the fun as we now run down this next straight. The Mini actually pretty good straight line speed in that thing, as well as the Fulvia is to the inside of the Clio. The Mini to the inside of that. Focus is trying to get involved. A very long way back for the Focus. Tries to get to the inside. Can't quite get anything done there, though. The Clio would just about fend him off as we round this final corner. Fulvia struggling to get his car turned, as is the Astra, which means the Clio gets himself back into contention. It's just a huge train of cars, and to be fair, that is often how things go at this particular layout of Silverstone. Being, lots of long straights and, only a couple of corners in between them, you do get these large trains of cars, and it was making for some very exciting fun. I had somehow worked my way into the lead of the race, but was under increasing pressure from the cars behind. The Veloster and Integra and the Dodge were all fighting for this lead. I was desperately trying to fend off the Veloster as we came down towards the back straight, and I could just about outturn the cars around me, but come to this acceleration zone, I just couldn't get far enough away through the corners, especially not when I was having to worry about defending and so on. The Integra would soar past all of us to take the lead. The Veloster would dive from a long way back, couldn't quite get it stopped. We all managed to get tangled up on the outside. The Dodge is in all sorts of interesting positions trying to pick his way through the chaos. The only car this was all really helping was the 5th place Scirocco that was quickly coming to join this fight. I had managed to repass the Veloster through that final corner. The Integra, though, making a little bit of a break for it, and as soon as we got on the power again out of that final turn, the Veloster would be passed. Now it was the Dodge's turn to have a go up the inside and would just about get the move done. I get a little bit too much understeer around the first corner. I was not giving up on this fight, though. As I said, I knew I could carry good corner speed around the outside. Down here is a little bit more of a tougher maneuver to pull off. I was going to give it a go, but it just couldn't quite make it work, and I just got myself stuck on the outside for a large portion of these laps, which is not a particularly good thing to be doing. And now I've got another Scirocco coming to join in the fun. The dark blue Scirocco obviously got more power in than mine. I did not have an answer for that down the straights, although I was a bit better positioned for this next corner to try and fend him off. The Integra is now trying to fend off the Veloster. The Dodge is actually right up there with those top two, as I'm once more trying to hold it around the outside of somebody, and I can hold it around the corners. I'll keep my car on the outside no problem around a lot of these corners, and then we just get to an acceleration zone, and that's when my poor Scirocco loses out a little bit, but we were having a lot of fun. Further back, and while the crazy mid-pack did spread out a little bit, as you can well quite clearly see, there were still pretty large groups going on. This Focus, crazy fast car in a straight line, trying to find a way past the Clio. Of course, can't take anywhere near as much quarter speed through that first turn to really do a huge amount, but then you've got all of that acceleration down towards the next corners. And for the Clio, the sort of aim of the game was to not make mistakes like that, because when you've ended up out quite so wide where the Clio is making up its time through the corners, you've lost that advantage over the Focus, and the Focus is absolutely going to murder you when it comes to the straight. And sure enough, the Ford would come powering past to take the position. Yeah, when you're defending your position, you really can't afford to be making mistakes. The Clio is back there having a sniff, having a look, trying to find a way past, and that was a common theme at this track. Again, the nature of this layout of Silverstone, it is a little bit difficult to overtake unless the car ahead of you makes a mistake, and all there has to be is a little mistake. As you see here, the Focus, almost carbon copy of the overtake last time. Not quite as wide, actually, run for the Focus this time for the Renault to get past. But yeah, all you have to do is just ever so slightly outbrake yourself, and you are going to be made to pay the price when you've got so many cars close around. At the front, though, and it would be the Hyundai that would go on to take victory. Certainly a close-fought battle between these two vehicles. The Veloster just able to get the best of the Integra as they round the final corner. The Hyundai claiming a victory. Yeah, it was a really good race, actually, this one. These two were far faster than the rest of us as well. Once they got ahead of our squabbling group behind, they drove away from the field. I would amazingly come in third with the handling Scirocco somehow. I wasn't expecting it. Helped out largely by 4th and 5th here, fighting with each other for the closing couple of laps, which allowed me to just sort of stick around in no man's land and stay out of trouble. Yeah, the lead two were long gone. In the end, the Dodge was able to cling on to the 4th place for the Scirocco in 5th. It'd been a really enjoyable race. In fact, us 5 were also quite a way ahead of the rest of the field, although again, a lot of it comes down to large groups of cars battling for a couple of laps, and that will really cost you. It was Silverstone was actually a lot more fun than I was expecting with these. The first couple of races were a little bit more bumpy than we have perhaps seen from some. These are not easy cars to drive, though. When you get often cars putting out 350, 400 plus horsepower through the front wheels, they're not really ideally suited. That's kind of why I wanted to give it a go, try something a bit different. Yeah, utterly bonkers cars. Some of them, I have no doubt some of them putting out a lot more than that as well for some of these races, because there were some stupid fast cars. However, that is going to be it for this week's Versus Community. The next one, we are going to be on Forza Horizon 3. We're going to be playing around with the ice racing stuff. Now, at the time I'm recording this, the Blizzard Mounted isn't actually out yet, so I'm not quite sure what class or what stuff we might be doing over there as of yet. What I'm going to say is, we're going to be playing around there, so of course you're going to be needing that DLC. If you want to sign up and take part in that event, then you can go to our forums. There will be a link in the description. Find the FailRace versus the community section, and you can sign up in there as soon as the expansion is out and as soon as I can, play around and figure out what it is exactly that I want to be doing. It'll be posted up in there what sort of car to build. Yeah, it's the joys of having a new DLC to play around with. However, that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.